We can now bring in Asher Kaufman, Professor of History and Peace Studies at the Kroc Institute for Peace Studies at the University of Notre Dame. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Now, Donald Trump announced the lifting of sanctions on Syria just yesterday. Today, he sat down with the country's new president, a man who not too long ago had a $10 million bounty on his head. Is Washington convinced that al-Shara is the man to lead Syria?
I mean, at least for now, this is clearly what seems to be the case. This really remarkable moment yesterday when he met with when he went with the Shara and lifted the sanctions. So this seems to be the case now. I mean, as we all know, Trump has changed, is known for changing his views, sometimes even twice a day. So we will see where that unfolds, and he will still need to get support in Washington itself for this move. And there is a possibility that he would face some resistance on Capitol Hill.
Donald Trump's visit to the region comes as he tries to secure a nuclear deal with Iran. Those negotiations from Tehran have been described as tough, but they are progressing nonetheless. He's trying to reach out at Tehran at a time when the relationship between Saudi Arabia and Iran has also shifted. Does that thaw in relations between Riyadh and Tehran factor into Donald Trump's thinking now?
I think this is clearly the case. If we follow the Trump's actions in his first term, with regards to both Saudi Arabia and Iran and Israel, we see that back in 2018, he, together with Israel and Saudi Arabia, opposed the nuclear deal that was achieved by Obama. And now there is a clear shift in his position with regards to Iran, supported by Saudi Arabia, and of course against the will of the current government in Israel, headed by Benjamin Netanyahu. So we clearly see a shift now, really important shift that is part of perhaps an American reorientation of its policies in the Middle East broadly.
But this reorientation flies in the face of everything Benjamin Netanyahu wants. So how does Donald Trump reconcile doing the exact opposite of what Israel's prime minister wants?
Yeah, I mean, this is really remarkable. I think of at least one of the more remarkable things that have been happening in the last few weeks. We see Donald Trump pursuing policies that are in direct conflict with the Israeli government, from his decision to stop attacking the Houthis in Yemen to its engagement with Iran through diplomacy, through in general ignoring completely Israel in this tour that he is now conducting. The way the last Israeli-American hostage was released completely while by ignoring Israel. So we see here a really important, remarkable shift in American policy vis-à-vis Israel led by Trump. That does not mean that the U.S. will now stop being the most important ally of Israel, but we clearly see here a shift in American policy towards Israel, and we will see if he's able actually to deliver something with regards to an end of the war in Gaza. That's, I think, the biggest test for him during this trip with regards to Israel, because this government, the Israeli government, has clearly shown no interest in stopping the war in Gaza. It has become a way for the government to survive politically and Netanyahu to survive politically. So this is, I think, the big question, because at the end of the day, Trump needs quiet and stability in the Middle East to pursue his business-oriented diplomacy. And Israel so far has not facilitated that quiet and diplomacy. This is true for Gaza, but this is also true for Israeli actions in Syria, Israeli actions in Lebanon, and definitely in Yemen. Even if you look at the chronology of events, I mean, Israel struck Yemeni ports the night before Trump flew to Saudi Arabia. Today, there have been continuation of these strikes, and the Houthis clearly are not showing any signs of giving up on their attempts to strike Israel with missiles. So that could be a major irritation and challenge to Trump's broader policies of reaching stability in the region, not for the sake of reaching peace, but for the sake of enabling economic transactions that he is interested in.
That's an interesting point. But I want to talk about, you mentioned Idan's Alexander's release, which came after the U.S. Conducted direct negotiations with Hamas and essentially bypassed the Israelis altogether. Today, we reportedly have some hostage families who are meeting Donald Trump in Qatar, Israeli hostage families. How does Donald Trump go about pressuring Israel to end the war, improving the humanitarian situation in Gaza without Israel being at the table?
Yeah, I think this is a challenge. Witkoff, Trump's envoy, met yesterday with Israeli hostages in Israel and said very clearly that the United States cannot act as Israel's government, that Israel has its own government and this government is making their own decisions. And this current government clearly has no interest in ending the war. If the war ended, this government would likely fall. So this is a major issue inside Israel, and it remains to be seen if Trump will be able to pull something out of his sleeve to pressure Netanyahu to reach some kind of a ceasefire agreement with Hamas and end this war. Signs show now in Israel that Netanyahu is really reluctant to do so because, again, it's his own political survival depends on it.
I mean, this is the thing. Netanyahu keeps saying that the war is going to intensify. Not just war in Gaza, he also wants the United States to get involved with striking Iran. So given that the major players in the region like Saudi Arabia, like the United Arab Emirates, want peace, want stability, and you're saying the Trump administration wants that too in the region, how do they give Israel what it wants? This is Israel's biggest backer on the world stage, essentially, the United States.
Yeah, I mean, you are pointing to the biggest challenge. I mean, can the United States have any leverage on Israel to change its policies vis-à-vis the Palestinians in general and vis-à-vis Gaza in particular? Clearly, we know that the leverage exists. It is there. I mean, the United States is Israel's number one weapon supplier. Diplomatically, it provides coverage to Israel in multiple international arenas. So there are possibilities for using these kinds of leverages against Israel. And it has not happened yet. And the question will be whether Trump, his administration, will use or try to threaten Israel with using these leverages in order to convince Israel to change its course in Gaza.
But do you think that will happen? Because under the Biden administration, if you recall, they suspended the delivery of 2,000-pound bombs or something like that. And that didn't really halt the trajectory of the war, did it?
I think we are in a different kind of relationship between Trump and Netanyahu.
True.
Netanyahu was really joyous when Trump came to power when Trump won the elections in November. When he came to power in January, there was this sense of joy in Israel that Trump will give Israel carte blanche to do whatever it wants. It has not happened yet. And I think there is one person in the world that Netanyahu is afraid of, perhaps in addition to his wife, but that's a different matter, and that is Trump. And the relationship between Trump and Netanyahu are really important here. And I think Trump has the capacity, if he wanted to put pressure on Netanyahu to change course. We will see. Maybe something will come out of these conversations now in Qatar that has been playing a really important role in the war in Gaza. And I am waiting in anticipation and hopeful that there'll be some...
You think the talks in Qatar will bear fruit, that we will see some sort of movement and more than just statements?
I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful for some constructive statements about the need to end the war in Gaza and to provide humanitarian assistance to the population there. And but this needs to come with some kind of leverage, and the leverage we might not be able to see the leverage because it might not be spoken out publicly, but perhaps through some diplomatic forms, this American administration would put pressure on Israel, because clearly pressure right now is needed because otherwise I don't see Israel, this current government, Netanyahu, changing their policies with regards to Gaza. Without outside pressure.
Kaufman, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me.